Amitabha Buddha greetings to all the people. Ladies and gentlemen, the public woke up this morning. The first idea is, do people remember the Buddha? People remember the Buddha, but do people have the heart to pray for the dead? Sir, is before going into shared learning, to build trust, I will recite the Buddha with you. To end of course, non-tissue ad do Buddha. Non-tissue ad do Buddha. Non-tissue ad do Buddha. I ask Amitabha Buddha to send me to the West. Non-tissue ad do Buddha. Non-tissue ad do Buddha. Non-tissue ad do Buddha. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here today to see. I will quote you today. Sleepwalking of Master Ham SN. It is still to continue the stages of the great Master Ham SN. Let us all listen together. Today's stage, it's also very close. It's also very easy to practice. Master Ham SN teaches. We have been since we were born. Every thought. Fan Quan creates birth and death karma. Never had a thought that illuminated my mind. There has never been a thought of ending suffering. Today is possible to change the mind into the Buddha's thoughts. Then in every thought the sorrow ends. If in every thought there is an end to sorrow, that is, every thought is free from birth. If you can keep a thought. Buddha's thoughts do not change. One mind does not rebel. It's much more important than meditation. Recollection of Buddha. It's about turning pure ideas into ideas. To bring clean ideas to change polluted ideas. Use the idea of subtracting ideas. It's a way to change. It's up to our bodies to do it. No need to pray for enlightenment of the mind. Dedicated to using Buddhist mindfulness as a practice. It's a stage of the great Master Ham SN. That's what Master Ham SN taught us. Here we see the problem. You hear the process. Wait a minute. You hear this? We're born. We have been since we were born. In fact, it's not from birth that you say. Since I was born, every thought has been an illusion. They are all fan. They are all karmic. Many people say that I just finished reciting an illusion. Too many children. Recitation of Buddha 2 years this year. It's been 6 years now and I keep worrying. If you keep running around in your head, you are my teacher. It's not Sao. It's normal. It's Sao. You compare between 2 years BA 5 years. You compare this life with comparison. The infinite number of our lives. Compare 1 year. These 2 years compared to 15 and our whole lives. What do? He said we've been here ever since we were born. Every thought is an illusion. They are all karmic in the 6 ways of birth and death. Today we recite the Buddha, or now we just turn to reciting the Buddha. The delusion, the affliction, the thought. The mess in our minds. It's cloudy, it's paper. What is it? It's a very, very normal state. Just like the person who came in to be a factory company. It doesn't matter if you know tomorrow is good, but I'm new to a company. Then the process, it's a process of people working. You also have to leave school. Long weeks, long months, maybe half a year. You know that process? Clear the process and work quickly. It can work very quickly and smoothly, but you're new, you can't do it. That too. Our recitation of the Buddha is the same as Chong. Don't force it to be like that. You force it to be Sao. Is not to be delusional, not to be disturbed. If you can do that, it's natural for a few months. We put a problem, we put a condition on it. In the end, we couldn't do it. We're under pressure, under stress. We're under so much pressure. We finally gave up no more. What do you say about this place? We have been since we were born. Every thought is an illusion. It's all disturbing. They are all living and dying. Never a thought that illuminated my mind. Never a thought of eliminating affliction. At this stage, what do we see? To look at something. The more we practice, we see Sao that's so messed up. Too much importance, our minds are full of disturbing impurities. Then we know that the more we have to practice, here he says clearly at Sao, if you do not recite the Buddha, just recite the Buddha. Why do you think it's rising? There are some things about it. It comes to us because of why? Because we recite the Buddha. It's not like that. It's like that. Remember, every time we recite the Buddha, we don't have to say that we have those things, but get those things. Do we recite the Buddha? Our minds are clear. Do we recite the Buddha? So the enlightenment of the Maitreya Buddha into our minds boils down to our minds. So we can see the illusions, the worries, the afflictions. That's missing in our formula. And if we don't recite the Buddha, and you can see it, it's like a dark house. You can't see anything, but thanks to a light, a flashlight shining on, you can see it all. Room, every corner, every object, everything in it. Buddha's title is a bright light. It is a light of wisdom. The light boils our minds. So the basis of the practice of reciting Buddha. Delusional affliction is very normal. I don't know how many times this place has been hit since sharing the Pure Land. Remember to mention it 100 times, 1,000 times. But many people are still affected, still asking about this place. Here you say, here you go. Solve the problem for us. This issue, he said, never a thought of eliminating affliction. You said from long ago, we've never eliminated a disturbing thought. So now, when you recite the Buddha, it is normal. Here you say, if it can be turned into a meditation, transformed into Buddhist thoughts, in every thought is the end of suffering. You said, the practice of reciting Buddha's thoughts, not like Zen Buddhism, it's cutting off birth and death in one lifetime. Sorry, it's called the elimination of disturbing thoughts. There's not a single idea that comes up. It's good or evil. When you see a Buddha or a ghost, there is no let it be in the mind that it's too hard. But the place, our Pure Land, it's the enemy. What's special about it? We're changing our ideas. To turn these illusory ideas around, this affliction has difficulties. Testing the evil notions of adultery, the notion of envy rather than defeat. It's these ideas called trickery fighting. Transform, convert into something. The idea. What do you mean by the Buddha's prayer for bliss? If you can bring the mind, delusions transformed into Buddhist thoughts. In every thought is the end of suffering. Let's meet something. It's something difficult. Something difficult. We thought she was really miserable. It's really nice to meet some difficult adversity. She's really too miserable. It's really about ecstasy. Then we start reciting Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha, let me go to the West. Meet a good deed. It is also the Amitabha Buddha. I turn to the West. Encounter an evil thing with adversity. Amitabha Buddha is too big for me to go to the West. Here. To change those ideas into those ideas. The word Buddha means, in every thought is the end of sorrow. In every thought is the end of life and death. Why does a Buddha's motto arise? With the mind of praying for the ecstasy of the West, Buddha made a vow to receive sentient beings. I have the will to be born. Between the Buddha and me corresponding aspirations. If we swear to each other, we will surely have one. The Buddha recited, in the heart of prayer to be born. It's a phase out of delusion, phase out of negativity. Exclude birth and death. Can we do it here? He said. It's easier than meditating on fruit sauce. Like receiving a speech. The meditators, that they are to meet the Buddha is to kill the Buddha. To meet a ghost is to kill a ghost. Peace is that they do not put it in their hearts. It's not that hard to do, gentlemen. Is it really some kind of muscle strain? The ordinary self. Master Guang said, I was an ordinary person being close to the ground. It's hard for us to do that. But what we can do is, if we think something bad, Amitabha Buddha, let me go to the West. What we do wrong, what we think wrong, Amitabha Buddha, let me go to the West. What is the saying in Zen Buddhism? Not afraid to start, just afraid. Hold on to what I'm saying. Bringing disturbing thoughts. The bad things are converted into Buddhist thoughts. Converted into Buddhist thought. Change it to Buddhist meditation only. He said that if in every passage there is sorrow, that is, every thought, away from birth and death, away from birth and death. If you can keep the memory, the mind does not change. One-pointed change is not one-pointed disorder. What is it? It's a mind. That's what you said if you do this. Do not change the move. It means I've been practicing like that my whole life. This place is still the saying. What is it? Make it a habit. Make a habit of reciting the Buddha. Nothing is difficult. There's nothing special. There's nothing we can't do. Amitabha Buddha, that is the recitation of that Buddha, or the Amitabha Buddha, that's the Buddha. Think something nasty. What do you think about people who hate you? Amitabha Buddha sent me to the West. Amitabha Buddha, Namo Amitabha Buddha, what is it? It's the transformation of the evil idea. To change the concept of the 6 ways of reincarnation into the concept of Amitabha Buddha, into this ecstatic Western-born notion. Convert the karma of the 6 rebirths into karma, pure land of birth. How to? How to recite the Buddha in any way that? I think that once I can recite the Buddha, I find it difficult to remember the Buddha once. Who gets in my way? Recited the Buddha 10 times. It is difficult for me to recite the Buddha once. You remember this place? Let's not say I'm like that in this life. I'm so hard, I'm so adversity. You complain and you say to people. People also nod. Oh, like that. Poor thing. But no one can help you. No one can make you free from suffering. Because of myself, you take the delusion. Take the affliction. Take the adversity. Take that difficulty and switch it back. Where to change back from? From the heart we change our name. Converted to the title of Buddha. What is a sincere commitment? Is the means? It's an opportunity to remind us once and for all. A chance to remember Buddha. Recall the Buddha you see or hip. That's great. So, he said continue. He said reciting the Buddha is not difficult. Buddha's thought is to bring the pure idea to life. To get rid of these polluting ideas. Here we say it's not difficult. The purest of human beings. The most enlightened thing in the world. What is it? That's Amitabha Buddha. The Buddha's name is his vision. The purest is Amitabha Buddha. The wisest of all is Amitabha Buddha. The most perfect enemy is Amitabha Buddha. So there are many. The question is to do so to foster good roots. Bliss staff to match up with the ecstatic Western world. No need to do so. Once we start this Buddha title in the sutra, he said he was a good man. Great blessing of goodness. The great grace, the great Zen root can believe, hear and recite this name of Buddha that can pray for the ecstasy of the West. So, when a person actually recites the Buddha because of the birth, it means that we have gathered enough good roots. Blessed is the grace. It means that we have entered into the Spirit. This is 100% truth. Why is that your wish? for the title of natural Buddha. In the name Buddha has magic pronounced in it. The name Buddha is a natural thing. When it's up, is the perfect merit in it? Because the name Buddha is his vision. It has been achieved. It has been achieved. So, the person who recites the name truly Buddha, recite the name Buddha is the great grace. Blessed is that place. So, when we hear this, we see the recitation of the Buddha we cannot ignore, can't miss, because of the opportunity. This seems like a rare opportunity. It's not stupid. It's not stupid to waste time. Accumulate the time. 1 minute to minutes. 5 minutes of meditation is 1 minute. 2 minutes to cultivate goodness and virtue. For AI, for ourselves, we're not doing it for AI. For ourselves, that we wouldn't do. If you don't do it, you're broke. It's closed. I hope people hear these stories. Recitation of the Buddha, it's much easier than actually meditating. For meditation, what is simply? Take the idea. Buddhist thought changes the ideas of pollution. Every time we think evil, desire is more envious than losing a fight. Human beings have those things too. But to meet those things, that we can turn around. Turn your head to the Buddha. What is that person? That's the enlightened man. Sense what it is. This Buddha's name, this world is suffering. That the West is ecstatic, the world is. Extremely safe fun. Must return quickly. You have to quickly lean on the Buddha. Through these stages, we feel very lucky to have met them. This stage, meet these stages, accept the main ideas. A way of changing. It's up to our bodies to do it. It means that our ordinary muscles. It depends on everyone, you know. It's like taking a shower. In the old days, there were difficulties to encounter obstacles or afflictions. That's how you to talk to her. Let us talk about something. Let us go all. Now you can blame anyone or yourself. The Buddha said that everything has cause and effect. At that time, I did not recite many Buddhist thoughts, but the mind is not connected. People often sit with it. It's called admonition. And now comes the time of the great. I get used to it when something happens. Amitabha Buddha let me go to the West. Amitabha Buddha let me go to the West. Then the great let it through a corner. The great ones continue to have the spirit of prayer. What I mean by this is, he said it depends on the nature of the living, suitable to do. The first person we are. You often talk to yourself. You keep getting into adversity, or you try to recite the Buddha. The more difficult it is to recite the Buddha. Because of difficulties without reciting the Buddha, why do we have to get lost? It is difficult to recite the Buddha and still know how to recite the Buddha. Reciting the Buddha. That we don't abandon ourselves? Let's say he practices with it and advises it. Remind it to motivate it automatically. Let it go on the path of always positive. Positive, then naturally, gradually become accustomed. You know what you see, but you also want to recite the Buddha. Pray. Why for the goal? Because our direction is clear. It's transparent. It's accurate. It's transparent. When we see that, we get used to it. You see it for a long time. Once you get used to it a few months, your mind is very light. Because in your heart, the weight is on the birth. Once you put the weight on it and see the impermanent, it comes to us. It's fast. Suddenly it came to me. We see what we can let go of. Let's practice letting go. Because what we let go of, we practice letting go, and we know that at the end of the job. It is important to remember that the Buddha is trained. If we don't let go, can we do it? Not sure if I can do it. It is very difficult if you can't do it. That's partly why this place is so dangerous. So, why are you patient every day? Patient learning, patiently building your faith for you. Why? Because the key is to recite the Buddha's wish at the time of death. It's very important. If you don't build it, it's not solid. And then strengthen your faith for you. At the time of death. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. This place 55-year-old practitioner to 35 give up as usual. Why? Because there is no one to foster the roots of faith. But go into something elaborate. There are many people. They're asking for something. It's a strange trick, a mysterious trick. What is it that's good in this particular place? Rely on the Di Davao. I have a heart. There is the will to lead. We just need to pray for life. And the recitation of the Buddha. We are our own practice. The practice of it depends on our identity. It depends on our karma. It depends on what's called basic nature, our high and low. Elaborate practice of reciting the Buddha. It's in the garden. If you practice mindfulness, it is in high or low status. Whether you are born or not, is that we really have faith and we're honest? Want to go to the West or not? That's the creed. So many people are wrong. It's the new Buddha, recitation of the Buddha. And then put a tool, put a quantitative limit on it. Give it something. Last long days and months reach not done. Give up and see. Buddha's thoughts have no results, no achievements. Give up the practice. But I didn't know that the Buddha was in prayer. It's the first route, and we've built up our own trust. Then sure, make sure we never fail to recite the Buddha. And recitation of Buddha is never small, because the faith is there. It is natural that we will recite Buddha a lot. This place is very important. You don't have to. It's called unskillful, lost in the wrong direction as the modern self. In the first stage, focus on the Buddha. Then nostalgic self cannot see the single mind. It's called unawareness. Thinking about yourself, the kind of feeling depressed. Then you see the big ones are wrong. Then maybe we can't do it. We give up the Buddha. To give up meditation means to give up. So, here you say, there's a stage where it says that every thought ends. In every thought the end of sorrow, that is, every thought is free from birth and death. If I can keep my thoughts unchanged. One mind is not rebellious, one mind not disorder. What is it? It is a mind that is conscientiously holding on to its last breath. How many police officers do you remember? How difficult the challenge? How many words come to me? But the mind, this will not change what it is. So, that's one-sided. Don't change your original direction. The thought of birth and death, the idea of liberation about the afterlife. And we know that. This recitation of the Buddha's dying wish is to rely on the divine grace of DDA's next. We don't have the ability. We don't have the ability. So, we need your support. I knew I needed your support. It is our responsibility. Just the thought of Buddha delusion, pure affliction. Or not pure. Leave it to the staff. It's our identity. Just don't get too serious about what to do. Just really recite the Buddha's name. What a difficult situation to meet. Back to the Buddha. Come back to recite the happy Buddha. Back to the Buddha. Upset to return to recitation. That's Buddha. What we know. I know what it is to rely on the name Buddha. Rely on the vow form. What is that? That's the true recitation of the Buddha. That's the old man reciting the Buddha. That's the old man reciting the intention to recite the Buddha. This place is very important. Listening daily, learning daily, that's lucky. It is our blessing. There is a final stage here. He said, your cultivation does not need to be enlightened. The mind only needs to use the Buddha's thoughts as the right conduct. Finally, back to the big sharing. Universities that study you, dedicated to reciting the Buddha as the right conduct to practice that. Difficulty, obstacles, challenges, how many things? Just bring this Buddha sign to mind. Take this wish out to measure our authority. Having difficulty, there is no longer any recitation of the Buddha. That's right. That's difficult right. Obstacles. How many temptations there are to recite the Buddha? Do you want to go to the West? Right? No more wrong. No more wrong. Just take this Buddha sign. Take this commitment as a yardstick to see if we're persistent. Trying or not. Having difficulty, encounter obstacles, pure peace, happy, upset. Back to the Buddha. Come back to the West. Come back to the West. I am an ecstatic person who must remember about Buddha. The West. Practice it. Practice building it every day. It comes naturally at some point. People are happy. It's strange. When we meet something, we just remember it. Remembering the Buddha in the West, it's as if we have a destination. There is a goal. Natural. Who does what? Let me go about my business as long as I can, then stop coming and get well. Delusion, affliction, adversity, difficulty, hindering the challenge. Amitabha Buddha to the West. In the West, we must remember the Buddhism must return to the West. If you want to go to the West, you have to pray. The Buddha had to go to the West, and in my head, it's all going on. It's fun. It's light. Everything wants to be relaxed. I hope people try to stop accepting. I'll read this part again. Let's hear it for you. Master Ham SN teaches, from the moment we were born, every thought of Fan Quan creating birth and death karma, never had a thought that illuminated my mind. There has never been a thought of ending suffering. It seems as if it can bring the imagination, transformed into Buddhist thoughts. Then in every thought the sorrow ends. If in every thought there is sorrow, that is, every thought is free from birth and death. If you can keep a thought, the Buddha's thoughts do not change. One mind is not rebellious. It's better than meditation. Buddha's thought is to transform pure ideas into, to convert polluting ideas into ideas. Buddha uses the idea of putting aside the idea that it is a. How to change it according to our wings. In order to do that, we don't need to pray for enlightenment. No need to be enlightened. Just use the Buddha's thoughts as righteous conduct. It's a stage of the great Master Ham SN, only to teach and advise our practitioners to recite the Buddha. I hope that the people of the past, if you're lucky enough, you hear it over and over again. It will make us humiliate the human mind. It's our willingness to make an effort. Won't make us go the wrong way. Let the people try their best. The determination of the West to listen to you. I wish the people a lifetime of prayer. He soon returned to the Western world. Non-tissue AD Buddha.